Hi everyone. In today's session, we'll talk about DataOps Suite, which is a combination of three products. It has Test Data Manager, Data Flow, which is for ETL testing, and then Data Quality. In today's session, we'll talk about Data Flow, which can be used for the ETL validation process. So, in the ETL validation process, you have to have different sources and targets from where the source is where from the data being copied to the target. So the first step in this is to add different sources. On the left hand side you can see a sources section wherein it shows you different data sources this tool has support for. You can see JDBC sources, file sources, generic sources, and API sources. In case of JDBC sources, these are the list of data sources we have support for, like Amazon Redshift, Athena, Snowflake, MySQL, Oracle, and all. So coming on to the file sources, Dataflow supports Avro, CSV, fixed length JSON, Parquet, and XML. Again, these files could be residing on any of the locations, like could be on premises, they could be on HDFS location, Azure Data Lake, or AWS S3. So the first step is to add different sources and targets within this section. Once that is done, the next step is to add a data flow. This is a component based application wherein it has different components put together to execute a particular task in the ETL validation process. I'll show you what all components it has. So let's open a new data flow, create a new data flow. Here you can see different components on the right hand side. These are again segregated into source components, processor components, data quality components, and sync components. Source components are those from where the data gets pulled from, and the target components are again the same. And coming on to the processor components, we have SQL components, attribute components, code components, and DB script component. These are more for the transformations to be done on top of the data. And data quality components, which is data compare, data profiling, and data analysis. And sync components, once we have different data sets, resultant data sets out of these comparisons and transformations, these can be stored into again a JDBC data source or file data source. The loading of this resultant data sources can be done using the sync components. I'll just show you a use case wherein we get the data from a source and we get the data from a target, and we try to compare this data and show you the result. So let's get into that data flow. Let's take a data flow wherein we are reading the data from Oracle, which is AWS RDS Oracle it is. So we are reading the customer table from AWS Oracle, that is RDS. This is the query to get the data from the Oracle database. So we have different options here or the properties here. So we select the data source here from where the data has to be pulled. This data source is nothing but what we have added in the sources section. And coming on to the next part, it is the query from where which actually fetches the data from Oracle. And then once we click on run here, it executes and then gives you the results like this. Let's say in this case it loaded 55,500 records, and you have one partition there, and it took 7 seconds to load the data. So it is about reading the data from one source, which is Oracle. And let's say you have CSV from where we are reading the data again. This CSV is residing in a local location, S3 location. We are trying to read the data from this one. So these are the different properties we give here: the name of the component, Data source, nothing but the CSV S3, and then the dataset name. So Spark stores the data in a dataset, in-memory dataset. So all the transformations, something, anything what we are doing on top of the dataset um, can be done on this. So we have second set of you can under the file you have the file name and different options, file options you have, like how the file is. It has a delimiter, what is the delimiter it has, and the header, and it has whether to infer the schema or not from the file. So these are the properties. Once we execute this, run this, we'll see the results in the run section. Again, it is loading 55,500 records. It internally made two partitions, and the run duration was 4 seconds. So this is simple use case wherein we got the data from Oracle, we got the data from CSV, which is residing in S3. And once these two data sets we have on hand, we can do a data compare component wherein we are comparing the data between Oracle and S3 CSV. So in this property section, we have the name of the component, data sets. So these are the data sets we got from Oracle and then S3 CSV. So I'm calling that source dataset as A, that is Oracle, and target dataset is B, which is S3 CSV. And we have different compare types here. So you can compare the data. In the comparison, we can consider we want to get the records only in A but not in B, and also only in B but not in A, and also all the differences. So you have some advanced options also. We can talk about those later. Coming on to the next step, which is a mapping step, wherein we have dataset A columns and then dataset B columns. So once you have the data from Oracle and the file, there should be one unique key which is mapping these two tables. So here in this case, customer ID is the one which is mapping these two tables. I can select that as a unique key. And once I click on run, it executes and gives you the differences here. So it gives you different data sets out of this data comparison. It gives you all matched rows in this section. It gives you mismatched rows, only in A, only in B, duplicates in A, duplicates in B, and statements. These are the different data sets you get out of this comparison. I'm just going to run this again. Here you can see the differences out of this comparison like this. So it gave the differences in this column. Like in this case, in the source or the Oracle, it has the email as at company2.example.com, and in case of dataset B, it has at company2.com. So this is the difference between the source and target. So it highlighted this difference, keeping both the values in the same column, same cell. So this is about mismatched records. These results can be exported as well, and we can write this data to files, or we can write the same data to JDBC data sources using the sync components. So you can see these are the mismatched rows. We have the matched rows which are not there at all, and we have records only in A, records only in B, and also duplicates in A and duplicates in B. These are the different sections we have. All these data sets we can export or write to the target or JDBC component, which is file or JDBC component. So this is a simple use case to show you how the tool works. This use case is shown in a diagram here. wherein we are getting the data from Oracle, we are getting the data from CSV file which is in S3, and then we are comparing the data using these three components: JDBC component, file component, data compare component. After this, we have something called pipelines, which automates your execution process. Once you create the data flows, we just drag and drop all the components, you create a data flow which executes your test job. So these data flows can be run in parallel or serial order using the pipelines. So this automates the ETL testing process, be it for multiple tables you may have. So in that case, we can create different data flows and then we can execute them in serial order or in parallel using the pipelines. In this case, I am just showing you a quick pipeline wherein we have different tasks laid out here. One is data flow task, and then EMR, which is to bring up the cluster from the tool itself. So EMR is AWS EMR. So the tool has the capability to bring up the clusters on demand. So as explained in architecture, we have the DataOps server and DataOps engine. In case of AWS deployment, we'll have EMR as the engine as discussed. So that EMR is a task here. In case of pipeline, what I can do here is I can just bring up a cluster in the AWS or Azure Databricks, and I can run all the data flows in serial order or in parallel, and then I can terminate the cluster. As this is an on-demand cluster, we are bringing up from the tool. We can use this clusters and run our loads on top of that cluster. So in this case, it effectively manages the decreases the cost of the cluster. And you can see the next task is ETL validator task, which is more for the integration between ETL validator and data flow we have. So you can create test cases in ETL validator tool, and we can also trigger those test cases from this pipeline. Coming on to the custom task, which is a task to execute batch scripts or shell scripts. So you can execute any batch script or shell script using the custom task, be it running a job, ETL job, or a testing job, any Python script. We can use this custom task to execute that. And we have an iteration task wherein we can, if we have to execute a data flow using different parameters, we can use this iteration task wherein it gives the inputs one after the other. And the next task is Azure task, which is more of a cluster in Azure Databricks it is. So the same way EMR works, Azure Databricks also works the same way. So we can bring up the cluster in Azure Databricks, and we can execute all the jobs on top of that cluster, and we can terminate the cluster as well from the tool itself or the pipeline itself. This is about a simple pipeline which has Azure Databricks brought up, and then we have different data flows run on the Azure Databricks, and here it stops the Azure cluster here. We can also see the run history of this particular execution here in this run history section. Coming on to the next section, it has clusters. As mentioned, we have DataOps engine, which is used to process large volumes of data. This is about three clusters we have here, three types of clusters we have: Livy, EMR, and Azure Databricks. Livy is a Apache Spark engine which could be deployed on premise, or it could be deployed on premise as a standalone, or it could be a YARN cluster. In case of EMR, we'll be using EMR as the engine here, and in case of Azure, we'll be using Azure Databricks as the engine here. So these are the different clusters we have. We can create data flows, we can create the pipelines, and we can run these pipelines or data flows on any one of these engines. You can have n number of engines started up and running all the time, and you can run your jobs or data flows on top of those engines. So it's the case that these two, DataOps server and DataOps engine, are completely separated. A data flow which is created in DataOps server can be run on any one of the engines. Next thing is about configuration, which is more of admin functionality of adding users, deleting users, and then assigning roles. These are the different functionalities we have in configure section. And we have something called notification service also here, which notifies and schedules these jobs and notifies. Let me talk about scheduler first, wherein we can schedule these data flows or pipelines. We can run them at a particular time, and then once these are executed, there will be notifications sent out based on the result of the pipeline run. So this is a sample schedule I'm showing you, wherein you have scheduler name, type. In this type, we can select pipeline, data source, data quality, and then data quality rule. Any one of this we can schedule using the scheduler. So we can schedule, let's say, pipeline at different times, like it's a start date we can have, end date we can have. It could be minutes, hourly, daily, or weekly, or monthly, or yearly basis, yearly. So we can schedule this. Once we schedule the pipeline, it runs at that particular time. It will be triggered that at the point of time, and if there is any failure or success, there will be notification sent to the group of people, which we can configure it in the email section within the pipeline. So this is one more tab called queries. So this is kind of notebook kind of interface it is, wherein user has given this option to execute the queries on a data source using this queries component. User need not go back to the PG admins or the SQL developers to execute the queries there. So here we can select any data source on top of which we want to execute the queries. I can give any query here, and then I click on execute, run. It shows the results in the below section. These are about different sections within data flow. Yeah. Next, I want to show you a performance use case wherein we are trying to compare the data between Redshift and CSV. It has 100 million records in each of Redshift and CSV, and we are trying to compare this. Let's see how the performance is in this comparison. So when I loaded the Redshift for the 100 million records, it took 9 minutes 52 seconds to read the data. Again, this is done on AWS cluster, EMR cluster, which is a 4-node cluster. So as I mentioned in the architecture, we can auto scale the clusters here. So whenever there is a load on the cluster, it automatically scales the nodes, and whenever there is load decreased on the cluster, those will be terminated. So in this case, for Redshift data to load, it took 9 minutes 52 seconds. And in case of CSV, for the same 100 million records, it took 6 minutes 8 seconds. And then coming on to the data comparison, wherein it is comparing the 100 million records with the 100 million records in CSV. And it took around 3 minutes 33 seconds, which is very fast. And you can even increase this based on the nodes, number of nodes. Once we auto scale, use the auto scaling cluster, the performance will automatically increase. So that's about it for the session. Let's meet in the next session wherein we'll talk about the data quality. Thank you.